The summer heat made the road look like it was dancing. 12-year-old Jesse sat on the wooden steps of Mike's roadside diner, his newest home. 6 months here was longer than his last 2 foster homes put together. The air smelled like hot dust and fried food. Jesse wiped sweat from his forehead and squinted at the empty highway that cut through the flat, dry land like a black river. "What you looking at?" Mara plopped down next to him, her skinny legs sticking to the wood. At 14, she was Mike's real daughter and had lived at the diner her whole life. "Nothing. Everything. I don't know." Jesse shrugged, his fingers finding the small wooden wolf in his pocket. The smooth edges had been worn down by years of worried touches. It was the only thing he had from his real mom. 6 foster homes in 4 years taught Jesse to keep what mattered close. Inside, the ceiling fans spun lazy circles, pushing around hot air and the smell of coffee and bacon. The lunch rush was over. Mike wiped down the counter with a rag that had seen better days. His big hands moved in wide circles like he was trying to clean away more than just spills. "You hear what Joe and them were saying?" Linda, the waitress with hair the color of pennies, leaned on the counter. "About those bikers coming through again." Mike's shoulders got tight. Jesse noticed how his foster dad's face changed at the word bikers. It was the same look grown-ups got when they were about to say something was complicated. Their way of saying kids shouldn't ask questions. "Caroline will be back tomorrow," Mike said quietly. "They're just passing through like always." Caroline, Mike's wife. Jesse had only met her twice in 6 months. She rode a motorcycle and wore a leather jacket with patches Jesse couldn't read. She had eyes that looked right through you, like she was searching for something hidden. The framed photo on the wall showed her and Mike on their wedding day. Her in black instead of white, looking wild and happy. "Them Hell's Angels bring nothing but trouble," Linda whispered, but not quiet enough. "Your brother-in-law's crew especially." Mike slammed his hand on the counter. "They're not what people thinkin'. They're not Hell's Angels. They're veterans." Jesse pressed the wooden wolf harder against his palm. He knew about being what people thought you were. Foster kid. Troubled. Too quiet. Has issues. The labels stuck like gum on your shoe. Through the window, Jesse spotted a dust cloud growing on the highway. The sound came next. A deep rumble that shook the glasses hanging above the bar. Motorcycles, maybe 20 of them. But something else caught Jesse's eye. Pickup trucks pulling in from the other direction. Men with serious faces. Men who came to the diner every morning for coffee and eggs, but now carried something else. Hunting rifles and shotguns resting across their laps. "Get inside, you two," Mike called from the doorway, his voice tight like a fist. "What's happening?" Mara asked, her eyes wide. "Just some folks who need to talk," Mike said, but his eyes told a different story. Jesse clutched his wooden wolf as he followed Mara inside. The rumble of engines grew louder, making the windows shake. He'd seen that look before on foster parents who were about to say it wasn't working out, on kids who were about to throw the first punch, on social workers who had bad news. It was the look of something about to break. Inside the diner, the air felt heavy and hot. Jesse and Mara crouched behind the kitchen door, peeking through the small window. 8 men with guns stood in a half circle facing Mike. Jesse knew most of them. Mr. Taylor, who owned the gas station, Mr. Wilson from the hardware store, and others who came for breakfast every morning. Now they looked different with hard faces and tight grips on their rifles. "We've had enough," Mike said. Mr. Taylor, his hat pushed back on his sweaty head. "Those bikers tear through town like they own it. Last week, 3 of them scared Mrs. Peterson's horses so bad, one broke through the fence." Mike stood tall behind the counter, his hands flat on the surface. "Those were kids from the high school, not the motorcycle club. Sheriff Parker already dealt with that." Mr. Wilson stepped forward, his rifle pointed at the floor, but still in his hands. "Your wife's brother brings them here. Every time they come through, something goes missing or gets broken. Jesse felt Mara tense beside him. They're talking about Uncle Jack, she whispered. Mom's brother. Dad doesn't like when people talk bad about him. Through the window, Jesse watched more trucks pull up, kicking up dust clouds that turned the afternoon sun orange. The sound of motorcycles grew louder. Not 20 bikes now, many more. They're veterans, most of them. Mike's voice cracked a little. They fought for your right to stand there with those guns, and now you're pointing them at people just passing through town. Jess's fingers found the wooden wolf in his pocket again. His real mom had carved it the week before she left. When you feel scared, she'd said, remember the wolf. Wolves look scary too. Some, but they take care of their own. Jesse wondered if Mike was part of Caroline's wolf pack. If maybe for a little while Jesse was, too. The door to the diner banged open. Everyone jumped. Linda the waitress rushed in, her face pale. They're coming. Must be 100 bikes on the road. Jesse slipped away from Mara and darted to the back door. Outside he could see it all better. The rumble was so loud now that it shook his chest. Around the bend came motorcycles 2 by 2, filling the highway as far as he could see. Sunlight bounced off chrome and metal. Black leather vests with patches. Helmets of every color. A black car led them, kicking up dust. It pulled into the parking lot and stopped. The door opened and Caroline stepped out. Jesse had only met Mike's wife twice, but he'd never forget how she looked. Tall with long black hair and a braid down her back. Dark sunglasses that she took off now, showing eyes that missed nothing. She wore jeans and a leather vest with patches like the others. But something about the way the bikers slowed when they saw her told Jesse she was important. The men with guns moved outside facing her. Mike pushed through them trying to get to his wife. Caroline, you're early. She didn't look at Mike. She stared at the guns pointed her way. What's happening here? Her voice was quiet but carried across the parking lot. Mr. Taylor stepped forward. We're protecting our town from your brother's gang. Caroline's face went still like water. When the wind stops, those aren't gang members. They're the Veterans Motorcycle Coalition, and they're here for a funeral. Jesse felt something cold spread through his chest. The wooden wolf seemed to burn in his pocket. He knew what it felt like when grown-ups stopped listening to each other. When anger got so big, there was no room for words anymore. Behind Caroline, the line of bikes kept coming. Jesse counted quickly. More than 100 now, and still they came. The men with guns shifted nervously, looking at each other with wide eyes. This was the moment before something terrible happened. Jesse knew that feeling all too well. The bikers kept coming, filling the highway and spilling into the parking lot. Jesse counted until he reached 150. Then lost track. The sound of all those engines made the air thick with noise. The smell of hot metal and gasoline mixed with dust and fear. Caroline stood alone, facing the men with guns. Her shoulders were straight, her hands empty at her sides. Put your guns down, she said. This is not what you think. Mr. Taylor shook his head. We know what your brother's club does. This stops today. Mike tried to step between them, but Mr. Turks's Wilson pushed him back. More townspeople arrived in trucks and cars, drawn by the noise and the stories that had spread like wildfire through town. Trouble at Mike's diner, bikers, guns. Jesse watched from the edge of the building, his heart beating so hard it hurt. He knew what happened when grown-ups got scared and angry. He'd seen kids taken away, families broken apart, all because someone got too scared to think straight. A tall biker with gray hair and a full beard stepped off his motorcycle. He walked slowly toward Caroline, his hands where everyone could see them. That's Jack, Mara whispered. She had followed Jesse outside and now stood close to him. Mom's brother Dry stopped beside Caroline. We're just passing through, like we told the sheriff last week. We're escorting Tommy home. Mr. Taylor's gun didn't lower. Who's Tommy? My son, said a voice from behind them. A man in his 60s walked forward from the line of bikes. His face was lined with sadness, his eyes red. Sergeant Tommy Reynolds. He died last month overseas. We're bringing him home to be buried next to his mother in Mason County. Jesse looked past the man and saw it. A motorcycle with a special sidecar. In it was a long box wrapped in an American flag. No one spoke. The only sound was the rumbling of idling motorcycles and the flag on the coffin, flapping in the hot breeze. Then someone raised a gun again. Could be a trick, he muttered. Jesse felt something snap inside him. Before he knew what he was doing, his feet carried him forward past Mara's grabbing hands into the open space between the guns and Caroline. Stop. His voice cracked, but it was loud enough to make everyone look at him. Just stop. Jesse stood there, his small body between the townspeople and the bikers. His hands shook, but he held them up like he'd seen in movies. My real mom left me when I was 7, he said. His voice sounded strange in his own ears. But before she did, she gave me this. He pulled out the wooden wolf and held it up. She said, people get scared of wolves because they don't understand them, but wolves take care of each other, their family. Jesse turned to look at Caroline, then at the bikers, then back at the townspeople. Maybe you're all just scared because you don't understand each other. The silence felt like it lasted forever. Jess's legs wanted to run, but he made them stay still. He thought about all the times he'd been the new kid, the foster kid, the one nobody understood. The old man with the red eyes walked forward slowly. He stopped in front of Jesse and knelt down so they were eye to eye. What's your name, son? Jesse. The man looked at Jess's wooden wolf, then up at his face. My Tommy had a good heart, too. Couldn't stand by when he saw something wrong. He stood up and turned to face the townspeople. We're not here for trouble. We're here to honor one of our own. Mr. Taylor lowered his gun first. The others slowly followed. The setting sun turned the sky orange and pink as something amazing happened in the diner's parking lot. People who had been ready to fight were now talking, their angry faces softening. Mr. Taylor shook hands with Jack. Other townspeople put their guns away in truck beds and came closer to hear the stories of the Veterans Motorcycle Coalition. Mike opened the diner doors wide. Food's on the house tonight, he called out. Soon the small building was packed with bikers and townspeople. The smell of burgers and fries filled the air. Jesse sat in a corner booth, watching it all with wide eyes. That was brave, Carolyn said, sliding into the seat across from him. Up close, her eyes were kind, not scary at all. Not many people would step between guns and strangers. Jesse shrugged, his fingers still wrapped around his wooden wolf. I know what it's like when people think they know you, but they don't. When they're scared of you for no reason. Caroline nodded slowly. Foster care is tough that way, isn't it? Across the diner, Jesse could see Mike laughing with Dre and some of the bikers. Mara was showing a group of younger riders her collection of rocks she kept in a shoe box under the counter. 178, Caroline said, following Jess's gaze. What bikers? There are 178 of them here tonight. All for Tommy. She pointed out the window where the flag covered coffin still rested on its special motorcycle. Someone had put flowers all around it. They came from 5 different states to make sure he got home with honor. Tommy's father walked over to their booth. He carried something in his hands, a small leather vest just size. The club voted, he said, holding it out. We want you to have this. Jesse took the vest carefully. It felt heavy and important. On the back was a patch that said, Honorary Peacemaker above a picture of a howling wolf. We have a saying in the coalition, the man continued. Never leave anyone behind. Looks like you understand that already. Later that night, after the diner had emptied and the bikers had set up tents in the field behind the building, Jesse sat on the same porch steps where he'd started his day. The wooden wolf was in one hand, the leather vest in the other. Mike and Caroline came out and sat on either side of him. "Jesse," Mike began, his voice gentle. "Caroline and I have been talking." Jess's heart sank. This was usually when foster parents said it wasn't working out. When they said they were sorry, but he needed to pack his things. "We know you're only supposed to be with us temporarily," Caroline said. "But we've been thinking if you wanted to stay, we could talk to your social worker about making this permanent." Jesse looked up, not sure he'd heard. "Right, you mean like adoption?" Mike nodded. "Only if you want. No pressure." Jesse looked out at the field where campfires twinkled in the darkness. The highway stretched in both directions, the same as it had that morning, but everything else felt different. For the first time in years, Jesse didn't feel the need to count exits or plan escapes. "I'd like that," he whispered. The next morning, Jesse stood with Mike, Carolyn, and Mara as all 178 bikers prepared to continue their journey. He wore his new vest over his t-shirt. Tommy's father hugged him tight. "You ever need anything, you call us. You're part of our pack now, too." As the motorcycles roared to life, Jesse held his wooden wolf up high. The morning sun caught it, casting a wolf-shaped shadow across the parking lot. The rumble of engines filled his chest with a feeling he was just starting to recognize. The feeling of having a place to belong. As the last bike disappeared around the bend, Jesse tucked the wooden wolf safely in his pocket. He wouldn't need to hold it